Wall Street gains for the third straight week as key indices continue to rally on easing inflation. Stocks in the Asia Pacific opened higher this morning, while the GIFT Nifty is suggesting a slightly higher start for the Indian markets. Crude prices come off 4-month lows. Brent rises over 3% on Friday to about $80 a barrel, but closes lower for the fourth straight week on concerns over lack of demand. 27 companies out of 40 applicants get approved for the ITPLI scheme. The scheme is likely to result in additional investment of over 3,500 crore rupees and subsequent production of 3.5 lakh crore rupees. Listed players include Dixon Technologies and Syrma SGS. OpenAI's board of directors on Friday fired Sam Altman and replaced him with Chief Technology Officer Meera Maruti as it loses confidence in its ability to lead the company. Reports, however, now suggest that the board is now looking to bring Altman back as CEO. And over $1 billion hearts break as Team India loses to Australia in the final of the Cricket World Cup in Ahmedabad. Australia chased down the 240-run target set by India with over 40 balls to spare. $1 billion hearts did break indeed, and it's the start of a brand new week, and we are back with Power Breakfast. And in the Mumbai newsroom, I am Hormus Fatakia, wishing you all a good morning as well. But let's first take a look at how the Asian markets are faring. They had opened slightly higher with a positive bias after the drop that they saw on Friday. As you can see, the Hang Seng is up 0.6%, but the Taiwan index is down 0.2%. Japanese indices had opened higher this morning, about 0.1% higher. Japan is about to report its consumer price inflation for October this week. And the Asian markets were fairly positive at the start of trade. The Hang Seng futures were also indicating a positive start, and as a result, the index has opened higher. But going over to the US markets on Friday, the Wall Street ended Friday's trading session they ended flat, but they ended with a slightly positive bias. It was the third straight week of gains for the benchmark indices. As you can see, the Dow Jones ending closer to the 35,000 mark, and the Nasdaq also closing higher for the third straight week. This was the first 3-week gaining streak for the Nasdaq since June, and for the Dow Jones and for the S&P 500, it was the first 3-week gaining streak since July. The markets have been rallying since the US inflation print came in better than expectations, and since then the stock markets on Wall Street have not looked back. But let's stick to our focus on the US markets. And let's listen in to Boston Fed's President Susan Collins and former Fed Governor Randy Crozon as they speak on their outlook for inflation and where the US economy is headed.
We are seeing some moderation in inflation, and I can certainly talk more about some of the details what we're seeing. We're also seeing some rebalancing in the economy more broadly. So, in terms of the inflation numbers, though, the headline came down and partly for energy. But at the same time, data is so noisy right now, and the progress that we've seen has been pretty uneven. So just like I wouldn't overreact if things went in the direction that we weren't looking for, I don't overreact if we get some promising news. I think we're positioned to be patient. In order to get back down to 2% in a reasonable amount of time, we need to be patient and resolute, and I wouldn't take additional firming off the table.
I think what they want to do is just sort of hedge and say we don't have enough data to make a decision to start to move down. I do think the markets have gotten a little bit ahead of where the Fed is in saying, inflation's gone, now they can start cutting rates. I think they're going to wait because they really want to make sure that inflation comes down, but we're still not at the 2% goal. I think what they want to do is try to give a relatively consistent message as you can with a committee with so many different people and so many different perspectives, that the market should not be expecting a cut soon. And what that means is probably holding tighter for longer, not forever, but for longer.
Let's also listen in to Laurie Calvasina of RBC Capital Markets as she speaks on her outlook for the US markets and also gives her top sector bets.
Another part of the market that should do really well is small caps, because they've been beaten down in large part due to interest rate fears and balance sheet concerns, but both can't really lead at the same time. So, it's a question, maybe you focus on one and then you focus on another. I have been telling people, I think once you get Fed cuts in place and we're a little bit closer to that, that will be a trigger for the small cap space. We've had some nice bounces here. They've had a good week. Is it really sustainable? It's hard to say when the economy is starting to show some signs of weakness.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to get caught flat-footed in small caps if you try to wait until you pick the exact inflection. So I think you want to go ahead and have some exposure and be patient.
That is the global market action. But how will the overnight cues impact the Indian markets? We have our research team joining in with how the trade setup looks like and at the stocks that are likely to be in the news today. First up, Ekta Batra joins in to get all the market cues that we need to watch for today. Morning, Ekta. Please tell us more.
Hi, morning. Well, definitely, it seems as though the markets would probably see another range-bound session today, or at least a start to it. That's what the Nifty, the implied open is indicating. But I'll just list down what exactly took place on Friday's trading session as well. Because Friday, it was largely lower in a range-bound session. The financials underperformed. The sensex fell around close to 200 odd points. The Nifty fell around over 30 odd points. In terms of flows, the FIIs net sold after 2 days of continuously buying. So they net sold around 477 odd crores. Overnight, what is negative is that oil has risen 3% after a sharp week-long sell-off on supply-demand concerns. We have US, however, which is positive. It closed higher. It is up for the third straight week. The Dow, for example, is rallied around 5.7% in the month of November. Asia is currently mixed. GIFT Nifty is indicating just about a flat start. Now, however, back home, watch for trends within the banking as well as the mid-cap space, because the Nifty Bank on Friday fell around 578 odd points. The Nifty Bank underperformed on a week-to-date basis, down over 1%. And the mid-cap index rose around 85 odd points. It was up for the third straight week and hit a record high intraday. So intra-week rather. So these are the two indices, whether or not we will see follow-on buying in the mid-caps and whether we will see further sell-off in the Nifty Bank would be two of the trends that we need to watch out for. Overall, as of now, it's indicating that maybe a bit of a consolidatory start is what we could expect for our markets.
Thanks for that, Ekta. A bit of a consolidatory start, and it's been that kind of a week, hasn't it? But now over to Abhishek Kothari, who will be listing out the stocks to watch out for in today's trading session. Morning, Abhishek. What do you have for us?
Morning, Homaz. To begin with, US FDA, for Cipla, company's Indore facility has received warning letter from US FDA. In the other news on US FDA, Aurobindo Pharma, the US FDA inspection of APL Healthcare's Telangana unit has closed with 0 observation. Coming on to the result season, ESAF SFB, asset quality deteriorated sharply over there. Gross NPA ratio is up to 2.64% versus 1.65% on a sequential basis. Despite strong deposit momentum, it's not translated into AUM growth on a sequential basis. So sequentially, their AUM growth was just 1.7%. SBI Card, in terms of RBI's new norms, they say that that will reduce the capital by around 4% or 400 basis points. RITES awarded tender for 10 diesel electric locomotives by CFM Mozambique. They have lost tender for 300 high side wagons by CFM Mozambique as well. Larsen and Toubro, the General Tax Authority Qatar has imposed 111.3 crore for tax period for FY17 and 127.6 crore for FY18. So an appeal has been filed by the company, as the company believes it is arbitrary and unjustified. Vedanta, they have seen a rating downgrade. CRISIL has downgraded the rating to AA- from AA earlier. Birla Corp API grants license to company Siemens plant at Chandaria to use official API monogram with effective from 17th November 2023. Overall reality, the company has executed an agreement for sale with REO Residency Company Private Limited and others for acquiring land approximately of about 14.816 acres at Sector 58, Gurugram, Haryana. Dalmia Sugar, they have disruptions at their operations at Kolhapur and Ninai Devi units in the state of Maharashtra due to farmers' Sangathan agitation. This could have a material impact is what the company says. Hikal Limited, they have received a warning issued to the compliance officer by SEBI, which is a negative news for them. Back to you.
Plenty of stocks to watch out for this morning. Thanks for that, Abhishek. And lastly, Nigel D'Souza is joining in with the FNO cues this morning. Nigel, good morning. 19,800 has been a resistance for the Nifty. Thursday, Friday, we both crossed that level on both the days, but failed to sustain above that.
Well, that's right, Harmaz. Good morning. If you look at Friday's trading session, the Nifty Bank was the one that's struggling. Despite of that, the Nifty didn't get hurt very, very badly. And the reason was there were some shorts that were covered out on the Nifty open interest. So if you look at the Nifty open interest, it was a little bit lower. While on the Nifty Bank, shorting has come back into play out there. And that's where the open interest build up out there was close to around 7.5%. Now, the FI net short positions, well, it saw a swing factor of close to around 10,000 contracts. How's that? They unwounded 5,000 longs and they added close to around 5,000 shorts. So that's why there's a 10,000 contract swing factor that's played out there. Now, in terms of, the options that were very active, 19,800 call, well, that was fairly active. The open interest build-up was close to around 40 lakh shares approximately, and the premium was roughly around 85 to around 90 rupees, which brings us to the resistance level. Remember, last week we went to the high of around 19,875, and from there we did see some bit of selling. So 19,875, 19,900, that becomes a resistance zone, going by the kind of open interest build-up you had at the 19,800 call as well. But at lower levels, the 19,600 seems to be a bit of a support zone. You have the 50 DMA that's at around the 19,588 odd mark. The Nifty Bank, that's at a very, very crucial technical factor. So if you pull up that chart, yes, that's the beautiful one that we're talking about. The 20 and the 200 DMA, they are very, very close on the downside. So that becomes the important support level at around this 43,200 to around 43,500. That's the crucial support zone. You don't want the Nifty Bank to go ahead and break that decisively, because otherwise we could see some more pain. For starters, I think the gift Nifty is suggesting we start off more or less flattish. Back to you.
Thanks for that, Nigel. It's the 200-point range on the Nifty, but the Nifty Bank is what needs to be watched out for more closely this morning, as Nigel was highlighting. Time for a short break here on Power Breakfast. News and updates continue on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18. The GIFT Nifty is indicating a slightly positive start for the Indian markets this morning. But away from the markets, the government has announced that 27 companies, including Dixon Technologies, Dell, HP and Foxconn, have been granted approval under the new production-linked incentive scheme for IT hardware. These 27 companies will lead to an additional investment of 3,000 crore rupees and an additional production worth 3.5 lakh crore rupees. My colleague Ashmit Kumar spoke to Saurabh Gupta, the CFO of Dixon Technologies, and Pankaj Mohindru, the chairman of the ICEA, to get their views on the same. Listen in.
We would like to thank the Ministry of Electronics. It's a very large opportunity. If you look at the total Indian market, is around $12 billion, and out of which almost 9 billion worth of laptops, tablets, servers are imported into India. So it's a big opportunity for domestic substitution, for incentivizing domestic manufacturing. And we think it's a large opportunity, and we should capture a large opportunity of this overall pie. So initially, we should start with the final assembly and the PCBA, and then gradually the way the whole scheme is structured, you have to get into components and move more into localization. So we'll get into batteries, we'll get into power supply, we'll get into PCBA, cabinets and all. So clearly it's a large opportunity, and over a period of time, I think so every industry requires some hand-holding, some support from the government in the initial stages. I think this is the kind of support that we were looking for. And over a period of time, we feel confident that, one, we'll be able to meet the requirements of the large domestic Indian market, which has presently been serviced through imports. But over a period of 2-3 years, I think so India can potentially become a hub for global markets as well. So.
You mentioned about how you were looking at backward integration as well. You're looking to get into components as well. Just a sense with what is the timeline we can see in terms of even the component manufacturer wanting to gravitate here towards the Indian market, number one. And number two, as far as the way forward is concerned, what is roughly, this question was asked in the PC as well, what is the kind of value addition we can expect here with India as a manufacturing hub?
So if you look at every industry requires a particular scale and size, and then the component ecosystem evolves. It has happened in electronic sector, it happened in the automotive sector, where India has become a manufacturing hub and an export hub. I think the similar thing is now happening in the electronic sector, led by mobiles, and now hopefully IT hardware as such. We think all the companies put together, 27 companies, including us, I think so the value addition over the next 3 to 4 years can eventually go to 40-45%, if not more. So that is something I think so it should be doable.
There has been a great push that the government is trying to give as far as trusted sources are concerned. That's been a big focus area for the government. Does that present more opportunities as companies look towards perhaps contract manufacturers such as yourself? Does that increase the opportunities for you to host other such big brands at your facilities?
Yes, clearly over the last few years, we've clearly seen that trend is more and more towards outsourcing. The brands want to focus on branding, distribution, and they would not only want to outsource the manufacturing, but also the designing piece. And with over a period of time, the component ecosystem also evolves. So my sense is, eventually we think we'll have a large opportunity of this overall pie.
And one final question, as far as broader market headwinds are concerned, are you at all worried? We saw some numbers coming in that enterprise demand perhaps is not that high for laptops, desktops. Is that a concern when you look at short-term headwinds coming in?
See, what happened during the COVID time, the demand for this laptop tablets really surged. So my sense is after that surge, it is kind of now getting normalized. There is, of course, a degrowth this year. But over a period of time, we see that as the disposable income, per capita income increases in the country, definitely this market will bound to grow. And first of all, apart from that, there's a big domestic substitution opportunity. So 9 billion worth of opportunity, if it gets replaced by import, if basically there's a replacement of the imports, I think so in itself is a large opportunity. And over a period of time, industry attains that kind of cost structures, becomes cost competitive, generates that operating leverage for it to go global as well. So I think this PLI is absolutely in the right direction for companies like us.
It's a very exciting day because a sector which was languishing for the last 3 decades is finally getting its act together. And I think this PLI will catalyze production of about, official figure is 3,50,000 crores, but I think it will be far more. I think we'll touch 5 lakhs to 6 lakh crores of additional manufacturing. And this is almost from ground zero. The uniqueness of this PLI is that it kicks in the value addition automatically. So as you go down the vertical, as you buy sub-assemblies from India, which are produced here, like chargers, battery packs, the memory, the chassis, the mechanics, the display assembly, you get additional benefits. Sure. So that is the wonderful part of the scheme and its unique structure.
Also, just want to understand that the big target that the government and the ministry had set out initially is the $300 billion target. Is it a step in that direction? Will it help realize that? Or will there still be some concerns in terms of meeting that target?
It's a very tough target. It was a 400% growth from the 75 billion which was there. We already have grown about 300% in the last 6-7 years. So it was a tough target. And I think all cylinders are firing now with this. This was a vertical which was languishing. Mobile phone, as you know, is moving well. Consumer electronics is moving well. Some of the other sectors are moving well. This was almost a zero. And I think we should be able to hit about 15 billion of annual manufacturing by 25-26 with this. And if some of the other companies who have not yet announced that they will be moving IT hardware manufacturing to India, I'm sure they will also come in. And the most pleasing part is, I think where the minister has put his great personal effort is the development of Indian supply chain, Indian companies. And you can see from the PLI approvals that there are a lot of mid-sized Indian companies who are participating in it. Sure. And we are sure that some of them will emerge as global champions.
Some big voices there on the IT PLI scheme, and we'll keep an eye out for both Dixon Technologies and Syrma SGS. Time for a short break here on Power Breakfast. News and updates continue on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18. Now, moving on to another big story from over the weekend. OpenAI's board of directors on Friday fired Sam Altman and replaced him with Chief Technology Officer Meera Maruti as it lost its confidence in his ability to lead the company. Reports, however, now suggest that the board is now looking to bring Altman back as CEO. CNBC has the latest.
OpenAI, will they or won't they? Will they take Sam Altman back? Even now, there's a lot of contention when it does come to reportage coming through via the information, via a number of reporters that are hitting the phones at the same time as well. So the contention is that Microsoft was very annoyed with OpenAI for firing Sam Altman over the course of Friday. Stateside, a lot of reasons, a lot of rationales have been given as well. This is the non-profit board that did the firing, but Greg Brockman, he actually wasn't a part of that firing. He stepped down alongside Sam Altman, and both of them apparently right now are in the OpenAI offices and perhaps coming to some kind of arrangement in order for him to come back. It would require the board leaving, according to Sam Altman, and if not, there is further reporting suggesting that if he was to leave, that he'd be starting a new venture, perhaps called Tigris, that he's been apparently undergoing a lot of conversations relating to AI chips, and that the big fella over at Microsoft, Satya Nadella, would be supporting him as well.
Interesting developments there at OpenAI. But back home now, rescue teams in Uttarakhand continue to battle to evacuate 41 construction workers who have been trapped under debris for over 170 hours following a tunnel collapse. Amidst challenges posed by a snag drill machine, officials are now considering a groundbreaking vertical drilling strategy. A high-performance drilling machine from Madhya Pradesh's Indore has been mobilized, initiating the construction of a platform for the vertical drilling operation. The rescue work is likely to take another 4 to 5 days as efforts to drill a horizontal hole using the American auger machine didn't yield the desired results. A team from the Prime Minister's office and experts on sites are also orchestrating the 5 distinct rescue plans. And over 1 billion hearts of Indians were left heartbroken after Team India lost to Australia in the finals of the Cricket World Cup at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. Having lost the toss and been put into bat on a tacky surface, Team India could only manage 240 runs on the board despite scoring 80 in the first power play as wickets at regular intervals put the brakes on the scoring. In response, the bowlers had Australia 3 down in the first 10 overs, but Travis Head and Marnus Labuschagne stitched a partnership of over 190 runs to take Australia to their 6th world title. Head was adjudged man of the match for his 137, while Virat Kohli was adjudged player of the tournament for scoring over 750 runs. Heartbreaking indeed. But that's all we have on this edition of Power Breakfast. Bazaar Morning Call takes the action forward. From myself and the team that put this show together, thank you so much for watching.